Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's on the news today? Rocksteady killed the Suicide Squad. All right, before we jump into it, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, hit those notifications. This way we know you like us because we like you. All right, let's jump into it. Rocksteady confirms it's pulling the plug on the new-ish Suicide Squad killed the Justice League content after Season 4. Rocksteady is pulling the plug on the new content for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League after Season 4, with the developer announcing its plans to end support for the troubled online game in January of 2025. So, starting the new year off right. Another live service game going to hell. Rocksteady revealed the news in an official blog detailing Suicide Squad's final season, which will include the release of an offline mode. And a new playable character is Deathstroke, which is pretty much what the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is doing. The Deathstroke. I found it funny. Well, Rocksteady doesn't plan to release any new content. Suicide Squad's story will remain playable via offline mode, and it will be possible to play co-op with friends. Previous season content will also continue to be available. Elsewhere, Rocksteady said Suicide Squad will remain available for purchase and that its in-game store will continue to function after Season 4, along with its in-game Luther coin currency. Because if it has Luther, you know it ain't worth crap. Rocksteady didn't indicate how long it plans to keep Suicide Squad online after it finishes releasing the new content. So we've all known this game has had a rough start. We reviewed the game, and we found for every one thing we enjoyed about it, there was probably 10 to 15 things that we had issues with. There's a lot to go on with that game. If you've played it, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't played it, you lucky bastards. So let's jump over here to the Little Lebowski and find out what he thinks about them ending this support. What do you got, Nick? What do you think? Is it about time? Are they a little late?
It's about time. I think they're a little late. Should have done it,
Season 2?
Should have killed the Justice League before coming out the door. But, yeah, I mean, this was, the writing was on the wall before they even released this game, that it was not going to make it. And once it released, the writing was definitely on the wall at that point. That's good that they're going to put in an offline mode and have all the content and stuff available to everybody to play. As far as like how long the servers will stay online, I would say I doubt it'll last throughout the entirety of 2025. I'd say by the end of 2025, or maybe even that summer of 2025, the servers will be shut down, or an announcement for the servers to be shut down. It's going to happen. Especially if they're not making enough content, and especially since they're not going to make enough content, and the people who've played it have probably already played it and don't want to play it anymore. The game's really going to probably dwindle in its player base. I think I checked Steam, the Steam charts. Now this is just on Steam, but as of our recording, there's 720 people playing the game right now, with a 24-hour peak of 853. So it's not a lot. An all-time peak within 10 months of 13,459. So, that's just going to go down even further once the servers are offline, or once they're no longer producing any more content for the game. So you're going to see, after Season 4, a very sharp decline when there's not going to be a Season 5 or anything like that of players. And then it's not going to be in Warner Brothers or Rocksteady's interest to keep the servers alive, right? And so they're going to look to shut that down, especially if no one's buying out of the store and stuff like that. And, it's not cost effective for them to make things for the store for people to buy if people aren't buying it or utilizing it, even if they are playing online. So, yeah, I mean, This is just another example of, especially, a couple things. We've talked about this stuff before, but when you take a developer like Rocksteady and you have them make a live service, right? Rocksteady makes some great games. One genre of games that they don't make great are live service games. The same thing with Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics makes some great single player games, but when you tell them to make the Avengers live service game, you don't tell a studio that's never made something. I mean, that's never done something before to make something as ambitious as a live service, right? Because there's a lot to go into that. It's fine if you want to genre hop, right? Like if a place makes a racing game and then they go and make Fable, looking at Playground games, that might be a little bit easier for them to do than going to a live service, because that's just a whole different. It's like a company making single player games and then having them make an MMO next, right? It's that same concept. There's a lot that goes into making massively multiplayer online games versus single player focused story type games, right? A lot more building blocks that have to go into that, because you have to keep players' interest over a long period of time and continue that flow of keeping their interest, as well as monetizing to keep that going. And there's a really crucial balance in that, and that's difficult for a lot of these live services to find, is that balance of fun content, because players are going to burn through that content quicker than you can make it. So can you make the content appealing enough, the gameplay appealing enough to players, where even if you're not releasing content, they'll still keep playing? And when you release content, they'll enjoy the content you release. And can you get that content out in a timely manner? Because if it takes you 3, 4, 6 months to release a season full of content, it's going to take your player base like a day to get through that content. And then they're going to be like, all right, when's the next one? Right. So it's kind of like, I still play Diablo 4. A new season comes out, but like when a season comes out, I'll burn through the season. And then once I burn through the season and max out my character, I'm like, now what do I do? Like, I just wait till the next season pops out, right? And then I stop playing the game and wait till the next season comes out. So, and so again, it doesn't keep my interest outside of that. And I think Suicide Squad had that problem where, besides the fact that the content that they released, I never played any of the seasonal content, but the in-game was bad, and that didn't keep people around. And the seasonal content, from my understanding, hasn't been that great either, which again does not keep people around long enough. So all around, it's just signs led to bad, right? I mean, if someone like Warner Brothers has a studio like Rocksteady, let them continue making the games they're good at making, right? They don't need to keep making Batman games, I'm saying, but like the types of games that they make that are just great, right? That they make. Let them continue to do that, right? And they'll make money for you, instead of having them do something completely out of their wheelhouse because you want that steady stream of income. But I don't know. Good. I'm glad Suicide Squad is going the way of the dodo. It wasn't a very great game. I mean, it was all right playing co-op, but again, there was no in-game to it, and you could tell that it wasn't going to live very long. But I just don't know what that means for Rocksteady's future.
Well, there was in game. You had to fight the same boss like 13 times.
Yeah, I didn't say there wasn't. I just said it wasn't very good. It was a repeat of the same thing over and over again. But that can be enticing to some people, but it wasn't. I don't think most people were enticed by it. What do you think, Pat?
Yet again, I'm the outlier on these games with these guys. I love Suicide Squad, but there was no end game. There was an end game, but there wasn't. So I enjoyed the Suicide Squad and would like to have continued to play, because I'll be honest, we didn't venture into the end game, because the end game was a lot of rinse repeat, and because they it was a lot of RNG in the end game for Suicide Squad. Because you had to get out there and get your mastery level up and then get your infinite crisis rank, your finite crisis rank up. That way that you could get to like, rank 60. So you can get the tier 3 gear and stuff like that. And then once you got the weapon that you wanted to, you could go spend an in-game resource to re-roll the weapon because you're min and maxing that weapon, right? You're hoping to get the three perks on the weapon that you want, and then min and maxing the other stat. And then after that, then you're going and you're taking it to get the be able to modify and elite the weapon. And then you're also supercharging the afflictions on the weapon and stuff like that. So a lot of it was just like super grindy. And it was a rinse repeat the same content. Because really, I think I saw they only had like 3 incursions, I think is what. And then incursions are pretty much the way to raise your mastery level and your finite crisis rank and get new gear was to run these incursions over and over. So, I mean, that's boring. But I found the game all the way up until the end game fun. I enjoyed the hell out of the game from start to end game. Like if this was just a single player, if this is not single player, but if this was just a co-op game and it ended there, I would have felt, and the price was a little bit lower. I don't remember the price when it came out, but to me, it felt like a $40 game, maybe a $50 game. I enjoyed that from beginning to end. I enjoyed it. And I might have played through it again with a different character if everybody wanted to play. But just like most time, I enjoy something that's like this, but these guys don't. And I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about Anthem, Skull and Bones, that type of stuff. These guys are not really, I don't know, into some of that stuff. So I end up
I loved Anthem, just to make that clear. I loved playing Anthem with you guys. It's Nick just there was Anthem. Nothing to freaking do.
Yeah, there was nothing to do. It's the same concept. When you got to the end, you're RNGing the game, right? And I don't find that fun. And the same thing, because that's Diablo 4. Diablo series is the king of RNG. Now, I will say PoE is the king of RNG now, especially with that skill tree and everything, and then their gear and stuff. PoE 2, I think, has taken that title away, but Diablo has the system down. Like they still, in my opinion, are the kings of RNG. Like you want nothing more than to see all that drop in Diablo and be like, oh, look at that. There's something gold over there. There's something orange over there. Got to get that, But I thoroughly enjoyed the Suicide Squad. The end game was not really end game, in my opinion, because after you run the incursion so many times, you're just like, I'm done, right? And then the little things that pop up on the map, you can go run those and do those. That gets a little boring after about a week of doing it, in my opinion. Maybe I could have lasted a month, but these guys weren't into it. So we beat the game and that was it. Everybody just kind of was like walked away. And I'm like, well, I'm not playing this by myself. So, I enjoyed the game and I would have played it more with these guys and if they wanted to play. Just like I would have played more Skull and Bones if they wanted to play. But at that point, the game couldn't hold on to people because it's not like they introduced a lot more story beats and stuff like that. It just, and this is the problem with live service games. Like this is a good model. A superhero live service game is a good model, but you have to have the content and your end game can't be too grindy. And because I say that because everybody's creating a live service game and people and gamers' attention span is so small for the majority of gamers and us included that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I may come back a few months down the road to check out the new content you did, and that's, and you want that. You want those gamers to come back and be like, oh, I need to get that DLC or that expansion or whatever. I'm going to buy the season pass because you've added these new story things, this new stuff, and that's the whole market. The market shouldn't be try to keep gamers engaged for 6 months before you come out with new content. You cannot do that. That's never going to work as a live service game. Games like Destiny try to do it, but their player base falls way off. They drop new content, it picks back up, and and it's that roller coaster of player wave. New content, lots of players, drops off. New content, lots of play. You want to try to minimize that downward slump, that downward curve, to where it's like as soon as the downward spike starts, it comes back up because of new content. And it's a fine line of you got to make good enough content that players want to play, and it's got to continuously roll out, right? But Suicide Squad didn't do that. In my opinion, the campaign aspect of the game was way too short. And then the end game was really, really boring and grindy. You cannot have a grindy end game and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the same thing with an MMO, right? If you're paying $15 a month for an MMO, you don't want to do too much grindy stuff. You want stuff that's entertaining, will keep changing, over time. Like, if you have the same amount of content, it needs to change from week to week in a rotation, like a 6-week rotation, so it doesn't feel like the same thing over and over again, right? But Suicide Squad didn't do that. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed the stuff from beginning to end. It was just the end was boring for me. I don't know about you guys, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved playing as King Shark. It was fun, really, really interesting, and I would have kept playing, but they committed the Deathstroke, as Shane said. So now they're just, they're just dangling out there. Servers will be up for, I don't know, a couple more months after that. I mean, how many more months really will they keep the servers running?
Yeah.
I mean, how long did the Avengers game keep running after they stopped doing content? I can't even remember. It was probably 3 to 6 months or something like that. So maybe look for summer of next year for the game to go silent.
It still lasted longer than Concord.
Or X-Defiant, right?
Or X-Defiant.
I mean, I'd say by the summer, or by the
server
end
will
of
be
the
shut
year
down
at the latest.
But I mean,
I go with that.
The Avengers was that way. They stopped putting out new content, and then it was just like, all right, we're gonna shut the servers down. It seemed like really quick though, when they were like, hey, we're not doing any new content, and the servers are gone.
But they pulled the plug pretty quick on that.
I liked the game. I really did like the game, and I like playing with you guys.
I agree with you for the most part, Pat. I really do, because and it might just be because we have fun together.
But we banged that game out. We were like getting on like every night and playing.
Yeah, we did. And but like you said, that game has the same problem so many other games did. There's not enough to hold your attention through long periods. Anthem, I loved Anthem until we beat it, and then that was it. There was nothing. The problem with live service games is you can't just have nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and the Suicide Squad was the epitome of grindy game. And what I mean by that is like the incursions that you could do to get better gear. You just couldn't do them anytime you wanted, right? You had to get 1,000 Promethium to do one incursion. And to get Promethium, you had to do the like support missions on the map. So you do a whole bunch of missions to get your 1,000 Promethium, and then run an incursion to increase your mastery level. And stuff like that. And then when you're increasing your mastery level and your gear level, you're increasing your finite crisis rank. And then once you get your rank up there high enough where you get the weapon that you want, then so you can get like I think they call it the Bane's Fury or whatever for King Shark. Once you did that, then you're going and seeing the Penguin, and you're spending those points to re-roll the stats until you get the perfect stat layout that you want on that weapon. And then you're going to go see the toy maker, and you're dropping a hefty sum of in-game currency to increase the elite level of that weapon. So not only are you getting a weapon level and then RNG in that, you're also then taking that weapon and going to the toy maker, and you're increasing the stats and increasing the elite level. And then you're going to go see Poison Ivy to supercharge the afflictions on that. I mean, that is the epitome of grindy. That's for a weapon, And so, it was just an insane amount of grindiness that was way too much, and the content was way too slow. But for our group, the group wasn't because we didn't even do one incursion. We didn't do one incursion in this group. We did not, because we beat the game, we beat the final boss, and then I was like, hey, let's go do some of this side stuff, because it was before I looked into what the end game was. And Shane's like, I got to go to bed. So we got off, and we never got back on because we beat the main story, and everybody was comfortable that was worth it. But the end game, when I got back, because I wanted to get back into it, I got back into it, looked into the end game, and I'm like, do I really want to do this grind? And I didn't want to do this grind by myself. Yeah. And I didn't want to run incursions with pickup groups, So I was like, well, these guys aren't going to play, so we're done.
Yeah, it's hard for me to stop playing a game and go back to, especially a game like that. So, but the difference between like Suicide Squad and the pirate game that you like so much is the Suicide Squad. No offense, Pat, was fun. I got to be Harley
pirate
Quinn.
game
I got
was
to be
fun.
Shark. I got to be.
You guys were just butthurt because you weren't the pirate, you were the ship. And you guys, for some reason,
I was a piece of shit.
Some reason that short circuits the two of yours brain for some reason that you're the ship and you're not a pirate. And I'm like, why? What's the correlation here? Like you have flashbacks of Caddyshack of Be the Ball. You know, you're not the golfer.
Yes.
You're the ball. You know, and I'm like, come on, you're the ship. Just get over it. But every time we played, all I ever heard was, I want to be the pirate and not the damn ship. I'm like, I'm perfectly fine being the ship and building my ship up to be super powerful.
Yeah, I could not get into that. I want to swashbuckle.
Yeah.
You know, I want to raid islands.
I was perfectly fine with just being the ship because we got a swashbuckling game. If you want to be the swashbuckling pirate, then go play Sea of Thieves. And I'm
which was a much better game.
No, screw that. It was not a much better game. But, you know, to each their own. And
exactly.
This is a group of 3, so we go where the group goes if we're playing co-op games together. And it is what it is, you know. Right. I am fully capable of going and playing that game by myself. Now, a lot of the content is locked out if you're by yourself, but I could suck it up and play with people I don't know. So, you know, it is what it is in that aspect. So,
yeah, you know, games like this, these are lessons learned, and the lesson is stop making them. Plain and simple. Because
the lesson is it needs Group Finder in there because I got a group of friends who don't like to play Endgame. No, I'm just kidding. But
a game like Suicide Squad is a perfect example of taking a developer like Rocksteady and making them do something that's not what they should be doing. They could have made an awesome Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game that was just a game, just a fun end-to-end game. And I think it'd have been great if they had just knocked out all the live service stuff. So
I think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was a game. I think that was a game, wasn't it?
No, a regular A to B
non-live
story-driven game. Take out all the live service.
Make a co-op game that's just that A to Z. Yeah. Once you beat the game, it's over. Maybe they'll do some DLC. Maybe they won't. I would have been perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, because I mean, everybody knows their pedigree with the Arkham series is amazing. Every one of those games is out of the park. Even at their worst, which was Arkham City, I think that was the third one. Even that was fantastic, and that was still not as good as the first two. I think it's just because they were trying to go too big. But I don't want to see them not try new things though, and they don't have to do everything in the DC universe. It's just no more live service. I think that's the moral of the story. Just stop with the goddamn live service and let's make some games. Let's make some memories, some stories. Some moments where the 3 of us can go, man, did you see how King Shark teabagged the Batman and you know, we killed the Joker and all that crap? You know, that's what we want. So
I don't think that's what you guys want because you guys,
we don't want to be the Pope, Pat. We don't want to be the boat. Okay.
You guys didn't even like Gotham Knights. So yeah, exactly.
I wasn't a big fan of the Gotham Knights, but
that was a story-based
live
game
service game.
Yeah, it was not a live service game. It had no microtransactions. It had none of that.
But now in live service sure felt like
no, it had no in-game. It had no microtransactions. You can play it offline. You know, so. But it was co-op.
Was that when Rocksteady there?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No, I'm just trying to say there was a DC-based game right there. And you,
but it wasn't Rocksteady, so
no
pedigree.
Pedigree.
But anyways, they need to stop with the live service crap. They really do.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, if they want to make money, make better games. You know, make games that, you know, I can tell Pat, hey, I know this ain't your wheelhouse, but guess what? This game is the shit. I love this game. Right now, I'm playing through Indiana Jones. It is phenomenal. Pat doesn't seem to really care. But I'm going to keep pointing it out. That game is phenomenal. So
it's not a bad game. It's just, it's okay. You know, for me, it's okay.
It. But I don't know if you're an Indiana Jones nut like.
Oh, I love Indiana Jones.
So movies. I mean,
except for the last movie where they where they basically sodomized
The
you know.
dial of digestion. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. But anyways, before we drag this, too far down the rabbit hole and ruin the good name of Rocksteady, you guys have anything else? All right. So you made it to the end. Guess what? You're my friend now. Yay. But since you are my friend, make
We're
sure
having
you hit
soft
the friend.
tacos.
Yay. With guac. Just like sound cool. Guac. So, but you're my friend now. So my friend's going to hit that button that says like. Friend's going to hit that button that says like. The friend's going to hit that button that says share. And he's going to share it again because he's going to share it to all his friends. I'm waiting. Hit it. Okay. Thank you. Now, we got to that part. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.